Okay, I'm going to use the telestrator today and talk about a lesson I had with Tony. Really nice guy, 67 years old, former wrestler, had a lot of athletic ability. And he had really 2 or 3 main flaws that were very stubborn, hard to cure. First of all, you'll notice his hips. He takes a good stride and the hands come back decently, but no hip rotation. He's got a bad knee, needs a knee replacement, but that's a back leg, and that's the leg that transfers, the weight comes off when the hips rotate, so that's not really the issue there. Brings the hands back moderately, but good launch position, but then he gets into the rotation again here, and or lack of rotation there, just the hips hardly open up at all, and then you can see the foot is still pointing forward, so we had to really work on good hip rotation. Secondly, you can see there's a snap issue with him, but the hip rotation was the main thing. And we look at one of the great small guys in the game, major conference player, Robert Blackburn. And watch Blackburn. He gets a brace leg out front, and then in one quick motion without any more forward motion, he rotates. You can really see his front leg straightens out. Secondly, you get into a rollover. You're rolling over the bat head into the ball. It's a fine line between axe snap and the start of the roll, or the start of the turn of the wrist, which a lot of athletes do. But you roll over and you roll up over the top of a lot of balls, makes your point of contact way out front, and there's no rotation because as soon as you start to roll over, you lose that. Now watch Blackburn's here. He's got a little bit more radical, little whip over the top, a little bit of a tomahawk in action. But watch his hand path goes to the ball, and it's an axe snap, palm down, palm up. A lot of arm extension off of there. You can see everybody's style is different. Ryan Harvey, watch how his rotation, I don't want to say drag, but his rotation pulls from the lead side, and he gets a lot of pull on rotation. His rotation helps bring that axe-style bat into the ball. You can see we'd be hitting an axe blade square into the tree. Christian Dowling, we were unfortunate enough to lose her this year, one of the greatest players in the women's game, a pure axe-style off the rotation. And here's Jeremy Yates. He gets a little bit of arm extension, but his lead arm's off the chest, and he rotates, pulls it around. Now, Mario Foster, a tremendous top-level 49-year-old player, has a tilted axe snap. Watch, he brings it over the top more, like a tomahawk, especially on a higher pitch. It's a more radical cut. You get a lot of power there, a little bit harder to control. And finally, Lewis Glidewell. He's 195 pounds. He's a high-rec player, won the Softball Magazine Home Run Contest 2 years ago. Watch how he pulls the axe snap in. There's no rollover till afterwards. Really does a great job of having the rotation. Finally, Jason Magnum, the Vanilla Gorilla. Again, a rotation that pulls the palm down, palm up, axe snap into the ball. So we want to use a rotation to pull that bat head into the ball. So we started out here by getting you to bring a punch back like you punch something, just to get better connection, get a little bit more coil. Here's our connection drill. Again, we don't want to land quite as hard as you are. I didn't add 2. You have a fused left ankle, but we started working on rotation and weight transfer. If you get weight transfer onto your front foot, then you can twist, and you want to twist without your head drifting ahead. There's your ba, and then the rotation. We actually want to drag that back foot behind our lead foot. That's an episode coming up, but we don't want to drag it straight ahead. It'll actually drag sideways, as I show a little bit later on in this video. Went to the second part now, hitting an axe. And you swung an axe a lot, which is surprising, but your rotation should pull it in. Look at how you slow your rotation, then you just hinge your wrists. You can't even make it stop properly. Your rotation should pull that lead arm and the top hand as well, but you should pull that axe right into it. Finally, you're doing it more correctly there, see? And part of the problem was you didn't get your lead arm back connected. You'd start back with a real big bend in your lead arm, and that would make you want to flex too much and thus contributed to rolling over and everything else. Went to the tee right away here, and again, the habits are so hard to break, and that's why you guys watching them look at you right into the rollover. You're rolling the bat over into impact, and that's why it's so hard to break, and don't be discouraged. Now, we do the karate drill where we rotate and we throw that hand without turning over, but when you do this, notice how your lead arm doesn't come off your chest. You're jammed, and I think that's part of the problem of the roller. Look at that left arm doesn't fly out like you're throwing a frisbee. You aren't getting extension with the lead arm. Like drop of water coming off a water wheel. As you rotate, your left arm should throw out like a karate chop, or it should come off your chest to some extent. That's the linear motion we need to get out of the swing. Again, we go into our rotation. You're still drifting ahead a little bit, so I held your shoulder back just to show you how radical that feels to convert the rotation, the linear force into rotation. Here's a twist drill. We start on our front foot, and we just use the momentum to twist ourselves around. That seemed to help you. Again, twist drill, watch your head. It doesn't drift forward very much on here. You're doing this much more properly. All the weight transfer to the front foot, and you drive back against that as you rotate, as the hips torque open. Here's the diagonal bat drill, which is a good drill. Again, vastly improved on the weight transfer, the rotation, not drifting ahead. That's all a much better motion, except for that back foot should drag sideways or at an angle behind you. Look at there. You're flexing the wrist right away. This is the second day already. That's how persistent these flaws can be in athletes, and we have to try to get you to the point where you understand it completely. You want to rotate totally. Rotate your hips and shoulders in this drill. That's better. And we have to have a checklist. You like to see the bat head is parallel to the ground, so we are not driving up or down, and get the lead arm back tight. That way your lead arm's connected. The only thing is, watch how tight your lead arm stays on your chest, see? You want to let that fly off a little bit so you get a little bit of linear motion like karate chopping through, and that's going to help, but that's vastly improved right there. All the drills you improved on dramatically, but when it comes time to do it live, again, look at how the arm's pinned to the chest. You know, it's too tight. You aren't getting that fling off like throwing a Frisbee. Then when we go to swing, right here, you'll let go with your top hand because your lead arm is so tight to it. I think you let go with your top hand because you didn't want to roll over. So I think if you can go back and start correcting that lead arm, get it extended off the chest, swing it over the rope, that looks great. The rope drill is a great drill. Typically you want to swing over the top of it, and here you're a little bit above it, but that's great. That's done much better. If you can keep from drifting ahead, again, you're getting a lot of wrist snap into it. You're not pulling it around as much because that lead arm is stuck on your chest. Again, watch Harvey. Your lead arm comes off his chest. There's some extension out beyond that, so it's got to be more of a throwing motion. Watch Yates's. It's like you're throwing a Frisbee as you're rotating and pulling around in an arc. So really appreciated the effort a lot. Again, the lead arm's pinned here. It makes everything else go bad. It's just hard to get a good axe snap when that's pinned there. You have to feel more like you're rotating and also throwing the axe, the karate chop and the axe head into the ball. You can see this, the lead arm extension off, but the rotation's pulling that around on Frank Henry's swing. And again, your lead arm is tight, and whatever adjustment that makes in your head here to do that, I want you to look at it, notice it, and understand you're doing the other drills good. So it's just a really persistent flaw, Tony, and appreciate all the work on it. Again, on Henry, the rotation, launch angle, hand comes off, and that's an axe snap. So this karate chop, make sure you throw that off your chest and work at different levels besides just at the chest. Twist drill is very good. You want to make sure that front leg drives back. When you throw the Frisbee even here, look at there. That lead arm is pinned to it. That's tells you right there. I think if you fix that, the other stuff's going to flow easier. Here's a guy I had last week. That you can see the extension of the arm coming off. Again, yours rotation's decent. Your front foot should be straightening out to show better rotation, but it is vastly improved. Watch as he comes around. He lets that arm extend out so it can follow all the way around in a nice arc, just like you're following a planet circling the sun there. So your arm is pinned there, and you almost feel like you have to change body posture and everything else to go down to it. So don't be discouraged with it, though. You get the drills right. We get this corrected. Get that lead arm from being pinned on your chest there. Otherwise, everything else is vastly improved. Come around here. You should be throwing that lead arm a little bit besides just leaving the pin. That's probably why you're forced to go to a side wrist snap. But you understand the concepts, and just want to show people that it's not an easy fix in a lot of cases. And some guys go home and they don't fix it. Watch Hall here. See how the lead arm comes off within the rotation, almost like a throwing motion within the rotation. And I also want to mention, look at the wrist. It doesn't always have to be a pure axe snap. His left wrist comes down. It turns a little bit to help guide and take the knob to the inside. But with yours, you can see it's really you're rolling over completely into the ball and the top hand's coming off. His is an axe snap and it's pulled, but there's also a little bit of a turn. And so, we want to go from the axe snap into the start of the roll, maybe a little bit on the worst end, but not certainly get into a rollover before impact. You just won't be on the right plane. Hands dive down. And again, I think here the second day, the biggest flaw was keeping them, not throwing that lead arm. Not karate chopping it away from you, not flinging it out inside the rotation, and then let the X snap follow in the proper path. Again, now start to watch the back foot. See how it drags behind? That's the last thing when you start to drill. Don't just let it drag up because it promotes a linear motion forward. Here, as Hall rotates, every great hitter, that'll drag up like he's kicking a soccer ball behind him. See on Frank Henry the same thing. And what that does is it cuts off linear motion ahead. And it's something that you can practice as you do the bat on the hip drill and the diagonal drill. Something we'll have in an upcoming episode that we've hardly talked about at all. But you can see the knees come together as the hips rotate and that foot drags sideways. I don't know if that's from balance or what the real dynamic reason for it is, but watch the trench that Brett digs here. It's a sideways motion and forward, and that just helps you promote a good launch position and helps your hip rotation. And otherwise, it's going to be very linear and you're going to drag ahead. This lets you keep that body angle back without drifting head anymore. Called the donkey kicker. When we do a drill, we can do a karate chop. As we do that, they should be at the same time in the motion. So a lot to work on. It doesn't come easy all the time. Now, I didn't mention you needed a new knee. Your left ankle's fused, you needed a new knee. But you get up to 88 miles an hour. You had some very good dramatic swings. See, you're doing it right on the karate chop. But then when you go to swing, that lead arm is still pinned tight. But you hit two balls, it would have been over a 300-foot fence. The fence here is up a hill and it's a 307. And even with the improvement you made, you could see there was a dramatic improvement up to 88 miles an hour, and I think your average was 7 miles an hour better than before. You get that fixed on that extension, I think the other stuff will flow better, and you need a new knee too. You can see you went back to the rollover on this, so awesome working with you, really appreciate it. And let's take a look at a few of the live swings you finished up with here. You had a couple balls that would have been over a 300-foot fence here out of the 20 we hit, and then you hit 88 miles an hour, and you hit another 5 or 6 balls in the 80s. You think this is something you can go home and continue to learn with the drills?
Oh, definitely the drills have been a big improvement in just a day. So with repetition, I'm confident that it's going to get a lot better. So, and first time using the Demerini bats today, and very impressed with the 27-ounce end load, and bat speeds increased substantially from yesterday. So I would attribute part of that to the bats and part to Bogey's training, of course. But the bat feels excellent.
Okay, I want to thank our partners in the show here. DeMarini is our main partner. I'm a DeMarini Senior Pro. Brett represents the brand. The new line of bats is awesome. Evil Sports, I've been with Bob Russell. They have the Evil BP balls, and they have the Stadium balls and the 44, 375, 52 cores. Just a great partner, and really enjoy working with him. The GT, most of the Major League teams use them. They fold up, go in your bag, high-quality product. They'll give you 10% off if you mention Swing Makeover or use it on their website. And finally, shirts and logos. Been with them about a dozen years since the start of the show. They are the leaders in sub-dye. Appreciate the effort, Tony, and good luck to everyone.